everyone, welcome back to Xylem, welcome back to the world of English. My name is Nasser Faruddin, Faculty of English, and I'll be helping you cover the entire syllabus for your upcoming English examination. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe for the upcoming videos, right? So in this video, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be discussing two important chapters from our core textbook, which are From the Diary of Anne Frank, and we have another interesting chapter, Mijbil The Otter, right? So without wasting time, let's delve deep into the chapter. But before that, I have a humble request, which is very simple. Please read the original text. Please read the original text line by line, because you will not be able to answer each and every question without reading the text in detail, right? So if you have already done that, great job, appreciate it. Now let's do this, okay? The first chapter, From the Diary of Anne Frank. From the Diary of Anne Frank. I believe you have heard at least something about Anne Frank, right? So let's see who Anne Frank is, who this beautiful girl is, right? Author background: Anne Frank, born in 1929 and passed away in 1945, which means she lived for a very short time, was a young Jewish girl born in Frankfurt, Germany. So she was a German Jewish girl, and you might be aware of the historical scenario or historical incident that happened in Germany during the time of Hitler. Exactly the same thing happened to her as well, because she was a Jew. Her family fled. Fled is the past tense of flee, run away. Fled means ran away to Holland or Netherlands to escape Nazi persecution. Because she was a Jew, Hitler, in the name of Aryan supremacy, executed people belong to the Jewish community, and in order to escape from the persecution, the Jewish massacre, she along with her family fled to Holland. During World War II, they hid is the past tense of hide, V2 is hid, HID, in the secret annex in Amsterdam. So Amsterdam is the capital of Netherlands. During this period, Anne wrote a diary which later became world famous as The Diary of a Young Girl. This is the title of that collection of diaries, The Diary of a Young Girl. The diary gives a powerful voice to a child experiencing fear, hope, and emotional growth during the war, during the Second World War to be precise. And now let's see what is the setting of the story. This is very important. Whenever you're learning a story, understanding the setting of the story, the background of the story, the socio-cultural milieu of the story is super important, significant. So what is the setting of the story? But this has nothing to do with persecution, this Jewish persecution or Jewish Holocaust. This is on the lighter side of that, okay? The chapter is based on Anne's diary entry dated 20th June 1942, which means the Second World War is going on, but nothing related to war. It describes her school life, family background, and personal feelings. Okay, it is very clear. It describes her school life, family background, and personal feelings. It is set just before Anne's family goes to hiding. This is very important. This particular data is very important. It is set just before Anne's family goes into hiding. Okay, now let's begin. The synopsis of the story, rather a detailed one in simple language. Okay, that's my promise. Okay, going on. Introduction to the diary. Introduction to the diary. Anne begins by saying that writing in a diary feels strange. Anne begins the diary by saying that writing a diary feels very strange, awkward to me. Why? Because she has two particular reasons. One is she has never written before. She has never written diaries in her life before. And second one, she thinks no one would be interested in a young girl's thought. That's the second thing. No, she had a lot of thoughts, but she thought no one would be interested in my thoughts. No one would be interested in my musings. But she wants to write because writing helps her express her feelings. She wanted to write because writings helped her express her feelings. And she believes paper has more patience than people. Do you agree with that? Paper has more patience than people. I absolutely agree with that. And why Anne starts a diary? Why Anne started a diary? And why? Anne feels she does not have true friend with whom she can share her inner thoughts. That is a major reason, because she didn't have a bosom friend. She didn't have a very close friend to whom she can share her thoughts, feelings, emotions, everything. She didn't have one. And she has many people around her, but no one she can confide in. She can trust her her thoughts with. So she decides to treat the diary as a friend, calling Kitty. She called the diary Kitty. Anne Frank's diary. Anne Frank called her diary Kitty. What a beautiful name. And Anne's family background. Okay, in this chapter, Anne is giving us her family background. So very simple, narrated in a very simple language. Anne gives a short sketch of her family. Father, Otto Frank, very kind and loving. Mother, Edith Frank. Sister, Margaret Frank, 3 years older than Anne Frank. And she was born in Frankfurt, Germany on 12th June 1929. Family moved to Holland to escape the Nazis, and Anne studied at Montessori school, loved her teachers, especially Mr. Couperus. I don't know how to pronounce that. Her grandmother died in January 1942, which made her very sad. So this is a short family sketch of Anne Frank, which she provides us. And let's move on to the interesting, important part of the diary. Anxiety about exams. Anxiety? No, we are not different from Anne Frank. I mean, Anne Frank is not different from us. Anxiety about exams. Anne writes about the tensions in her class. What is the tension? The teachers will soon decide promotions to the next class. Exams are over and teachers are evaluating the answer sheets, and teachers will soon declare who will be promoted, which all children will be promoted to the next class. Students are nervous and even making bets. Students are obviously nervous, and the funny thing is that they are making bets that who will pass, who will be promoted to the next class. They are betting each other. Anne is confident about most subjects except mathematics. Oh, Anne, I can feel you, right? Anne is confident about almost every subject, but not in mathematics, because mathematics is a bit complicated for her, or was a bit complicated for her. She and a friend, Gian, laugh at two boys who are constantly arguing about passing or failing. Okay, these are some light-hearted incidents going on. And Anne's behavior in class. Anne gets along well with most teachers except Mr. Keesing. Anne had a friendly relationship with most of her teachers. Actually, she had 10 teachers, okay? And she went along with most of the teachers except her math teacher, Mr. Keesing. What is wrong with Mr. Keesing? He complains that she talks too much in class. No, Anne Frank was a chatterbox when she was young, when she was in the school, and he complains about that. As punishment, he gives her extra homework writing essays. This is very important. I mean, this is an amusing incident actually. As punishment, Mr. Keesing gives her extra homework. What was that? Writing essays. And the topic of the essays is even more interesting. I'll say what? The chatterbox essays. First essay. Right? Mr. Keesing gave her extra homework, and the first essay, the topic was a chatterbox. Anne argues that in that essay, Anne was very clever. Anne has a beautiful writing style, right? Anne was an intelligent student, and Anne argues that talking is a habit inherited from her mother. So I can't do anything about that. Talking is a habit. It's a trait that she inherited from her mother, passed on from her mother. Mr. Keesing laughs and accepts it. Mr. Keesing, he was not a cruel man. I'd say he was not a cruel man. He was a very, a very kind person, a very good person, I would say. So Mr. Keesing laughs and accepts it. But Anne writes again and he stops complaining for a short time. She was again given extra homework. She wrote essays almost about the same topic, and for a couple of days she stops speaking in the class. But the chatterbox essays, this third essay is very crucial, and this is the climax of the story. Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. This was the topic given by the teacher for Anne Frank to write the essay. What was the topic? Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. Mr. Keesing tries to joke by giving a funny topic. Mr. Keesing tried to joke her, behavior of talking in the class by giving a funny topic with her friend. But what happened? With her friend Sane, with her friend Sane's help, Anne writes a poem about a mother duck, father swan, and ducklings who get punished for quacking too much. Right? So here we can see a creative child who, Anne Frank, who was so creative about making a poem out of a punishment, from a punishment. So with her friend Sane's help, Sane was a poet, Sane used to write poems, and writes a poem about a mother duck, father swan, and duckling who get punished for quacking too much. It was humorous and it was creative. That essay, that poem was humorous and it was highly creative. And change in Mr. Keesing. Mr. Keesing enjoys the poem and even reads it to other classes. After this, Mr. Keesing stops punishing Anne, allows her to talk in class, learns to understand students better, starts making jokes instead of scolding. So that particular act from the part of, Anne Frank, a child, a young girl, completely transformed the behavior of Mr. Keesing, the maths teacher. Okay, and that's all about the chapter and the conclusion. The diary entry shows Anne's innocence. The diary entry shows Anne's innocence, Anne's honesty, and strong personality. Her desire for emotional support, her sharp intelligence and humor. The chapter highlights a beautiful teacher-student relationship that matures over time. It's a beautiful chapter. It's a light chapter. Okay, and we are moving on to the next chapter. Can you guess which is the next chapter? It is actually one of my favorite chapters in the bunch, which is, yes, Mijbil the Otter. Mijbil the Otter. This is Otter, and the name of the otter is Mijbil. Mijbil the Otter. Right? It's an interesting chapter. It's a funny chapter. Right. So, author background first, as always. Gavin Maxwell is the author. Gavin Maxwell, born in 1914 and passed away in 1969, was a Scottish naturalist and a writer. He was a writer as well as a naturalist. Who is a naturalist? A person who studies about birds, animals, nature in general. That's a naturalist. So he was from Scotland, and he was a Scottish naturalist and writer. And he is best known for his book Ring of Bright Water, which describes his life with otters in Scotland. This is again a Ring of Bright Water, which describes his life with the otters in Scotland. It is one of his, or it is his most famous book. He loved wildlife deeply and often tried to raise and study unusual animals. He often tried to raise unusual animals. He often tried to study unusual animals like an otter. Otter is an unusual animal. This is otter. Okay, otter. Right. His writings combine adventure, humor, and affection for nature. Adventure, humor, and affection for nature, or I would say in this chapter, affection for animals, love for animals. Let's begin. The setting of the story. The story begins in 1956 in southern Iraq. The story begins in 1956 in southern Iraq near the Tigris marshes. The exact location is near the Tigris marshes. Later, the setting moves to Basra, a flight to Europe, London, England. right? The shifting setting shows the challenges of traveling internationally with a wild animal. This is very important. The challenges of traveling internationally from Iraq to London internationally with a wild animal. So this is the setting of the story, and in the case of this particular story, the setting is super important. And let's analyze the detailed synopsis. Okay, I have included supporting photos as well, pictures as well. You can enjoy this later after downloading the PDF from our community. Right, introduction to the chapter. Mijbil the Otter is the autobiographical story of how the author adopts, trains and travels with an otter named Mijbil. This is the summary of the chapter in a nutshell. Mijbil the Otter is the autobiographical story of the author Maxwell, how the author adopts, trains and travels with an otter named Mijbil. The story highlights the bond between humans and animals. This is a major theme of the story. And the otter's intelligence and playful nature and the humorous challenges of keeping a wild pet. Otter is not like a cat or a dog. It's a wild pet. It's very difficult to tame one, right? So this is the introduction of the chapter, and from this introduction itself we understood a lot of things. And moving on, desire to own an otter. Desire, the wish to own an otter as a pet. In 1956, Maxwell decides he wants an otter as a pet instead of a dog. He decides he's going to have an otter as a pet instead of a dog. Actually, he had a dog as a pet and it died. Okay, and after that he decided to raise an otter as the pet. A friend tells him that otters are common in the Tigris marshes in Iraq. So that friend gave him the information that otters are very common in Iraq, in Tigris marshes. Maxwell wait for his mail in Basra, expecting instructions from England, right? And arrival of the otter. When his mail finally arrives, he finds 2 Arabs with a sack in his room, right? He arrives 2 Arabs with sacks in his room. Inside the sack is a mud-covered otter sent by his friend from Tigris marshes. The otter looks like a tiny dragon covered in scales of mud. The otter looks like a tiny dragon, a kunny dragon covered in a scale of mud. He names the otter Mijbil and he calls him Mich. He names the otter Mijbil. What a beautiful name for an otter, and he calls it Mich. And discovering a new species. Scientists later confirmed that Mich is of a previously unknown species. It is named Lutergale perspicillata maxwelli, which means Maxwell's otter. It's an amusing incident. And Mijbil's early behavior. At first, as we expected, Mich is quiet, aloof, secluded, okay, not going anywhere, not interacting with anybody, aloof and shy. On the second night, he sleeps with the author and slowly forms a bond. On the second night, he sleeps with the author and gradually he develops a bond with the author, his master. He loves water and becomes wild with excitement in the bathtub. He tries to turn the taps on his own and succeeds. He succeeds in that attempt. Mijbil's playfulness and intelligence. Mich becomes friendly, playful, and clever. He loves playing with a rubber ball and marbles. He jiggles with the marbles and he can juggle. He can juggle objects while lying on his back. He becomes loyal and follows the author everywhere. They became friendly. They became extremely close to each other. But troubles in traveling with Mitch. Maxwell needs to fly back to England but faces problems because airplane refuse pets, especially wild pets like otter. He wanted to travel back to England, but problem. He finally books a flight to Paris, but the airline demands a small box for the otter. Right. Mitch injures himself badly while trying to escape the box. Okay. Mitch injures himself badly because he was closed inside the box, but he tried to escape and he injures himself very badly. The author rushes to the airport with the injured otter because he was running out of time. He rushes to the airport with the injured otter. And chaos, problems in the aircraft. On the plane, the kind air hostess allows Mitch to sit on Maxwell's lap. Okay, according to the rule, he was supposed to keep it under the seat, but the kind air hostess, helped him to, or allows Mitch to sit on Maxwell's lap. Mitch escapes and runs through the plane, creating panic among the passengers. Passengers scream, a rat, because they couldn't identify it was an otter. They thought it was a big rat. After a short chase, Mitch returns to the author on his own. He came back on his own after creating all the problems, after creating all the panic. And life in London. In London, they came back to London after this, incident. In London, Mitch plays with many toys and invents new games. On walks, he develops funny habits like school children. Example, touching certain posts, running along the walls. He created, strange, funny habits. People are confused about what animal he is and guesses wrongly. Okay, only wrong answers. People started guessing what this animal is because they are not very familiar with otters in England. And people started guessing wildly. A squirrel, a beaver, a hippo, a baby seal, or a bontosser. What do you mean by a bontosser? A kind of dinosaur, right? They started guessing. One laborer angrily asked, "What is that supposed to be?" One laborer angrily asked, "What is that supposed to be? I can understand anything. What is that?" Right? And that's how the story ends. Right? That's how the story ends. And thank you everybody for watching. And please join the WhatsApp community for the handwritten notes, for the notes, and you can scan this QR code and join the community, and it is absolutely safe. You don't have to worry about your privacy. It will be protected. Don't worry about that. And check the description box for the chapter test. Okay, I have prepared a chapter test based on both the chapters we have learned this particular video, and do check then attend that examination in order to understand whether you have comprehended the chapter thoroughly or not. And that's all everybody. Thank you for watching. I'll see you with yet another video. Until then, this is Nasser Faruddin signing off from Xylem Learning. Thank you.